Okay, we are going to measure angles today. Not angels, angles. Five, 18, 22. So the first thing we need to do is we need to glue this protractor into our book, and we can just glue it in exactly how it is. And you should already have it glued in there. So we're going to do a couple of things on this protractor. The first thing, I want your eyeballs up here. So the first thing I want you to notice is where the numbers are. You have 0 on the outside, on the left side of your protractor, and you have 0 on the inside, on the right side of your protractor. So whenever I go to the left, keep watching, I go all the way on the outside, and there's 90, and 90 looks the same. Either way I draw my angle. Sometimes, this is where it's different, sometimes your protractor, it might switch where your 100 is. This one, it stays consistent, it's on the outside. But normally when we measure an angle, it's going to point to the right. We need to make sure we have it lined up to the 0. And we look at our numbers, so where we have to remember how we count, and there's 90, and it stays on the inside, and it continues on. So as I look at my protractor here, I'm going to show you a few things. When you measure an angle, this arrow is my little guide I'm going to use. I'm going to make a dot right above that arrow. That dot is a point. That is the point that the two rays come together. When you lay down the protractor, one of your rays will be pointing to 0. And it'll look like it's pointing to 180 degrees as well. But you're looking at the 0 line. Then the other side opens up to an angle. I'm going to use a ruler to make a straight line. And this angle I'm going to open up until about 105 degrees. So whenever I look here, I know it goes past 90, 105. There's 100. Here's 105 right here, this mark. So it's kind of like a ruler that is curved when you look at your numbers. Now, here's the tricky part, because you will have to draw angles. You have to take your time. You're going to line up your ruler with that point, the middle of your line down at the bottom. And you're going to line the other side up with wherever it measures to. Holding down your ruler, it's hard for fourth graders, hold it down to make a straight line. Now I can go off of my protractor. It doesn't matter, I can go way far if I need to. But this angle right here, see how big it opens up? That measures 105 degrees. When you look at a protractor, you're given all these numbers in this area right here. You have to be smart enough to look to see where it ends. This would not make sense for this angle to be a 75-degree angle because it opens up past 90. Now, another thing that we're going to work on today, besides looking at a protractor and figuring out what it measures to, we have to know what happens when our angles don't start at 0. So you're going to take your next protractor, and if you don't have it glued down, go ahead and glue it down. You should have it glued down. And we are going to have that point there. This one, our angle is going to start at the 40. So I have my point, and it's right there's the 40. So I'm going to make a straight line, and I can go past it, it's fine. Whenever I measure my angle, I'm not measuring how long my line is, I'm measuring how big it opens up. So then I'm also going to take this, and I'm going to have this go to the 110 mark. So I make sure that my point is there and my 110. And then I make a straight line. So I want to know how much this angle opens up. I can do a couple of things. I could count. It's like if I'm counting on, but I'm not starting at 40 because I need to picture it. If my protractor rotated and this would now be 0, what would this be? So when I count, I'm going to count by tens to make my life easier. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So this angle opens up to 70 degrees. Now how else could I do that? Well, I could look, and this is where I can use either number, but I have to be consistent. If I use 70, then I need to use 140. If I use 110, then I need to use 40. I am not going to go inside outside and use opposites. So it doesn't matter. I'll use 110 and 40. So I take my 110 and I take my 40 and I subtract them from each other, and you will still get 70 degrees for your angle. So when you do your practice today, you will have 2 sheets to do. This first one is front and back. This one you are determining angles. All of these are starting at 0. Sometimes they're starting at the right, sometimes they're starting at the left. And you have to look and see where it ended. So for number 3, right here, here's 0 over here. Now whenever I get way over here, would this make sense to say this is a 15-degree angle? No. So I have to use my inside numbers. This angle measures between 160 and 170. It's halfway between. So that would be 165. Sometimes 4th graders forget and they put like 175 because they're looking at the numbers wrong. When I get to the back side, this is where I have to look at wherever it's starting at. I'm going to jump down to number 5. Number 5, this one starts at 5. And it opens up really big, and it goes to in between 160 and 170. I could do a couple of things. I could visualize just turning this 5 degrees. I could subtract 5 degrees, or I could count all the way around, and I would get 160 for this one. Now I know I went through that pretty fast, but you can count, you could subtract, however you want to do it to solve your answer. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do, we just need quite a bit of space to do this because we are actually going to construct angles. That means we're going to draw them. So we will need a protractor. You're going to watch me do this with a protractor. there are all kinds of protractors that you can use. We're going to use this one. This is one where I said you have to pay attention because this starts at 0 on the inside, but then it jumps to the outside. If I continue counting, you see it starts at 0 on the inside. When it hits 90, it jumps to the outside. All right, so how do I construct angles? Well, I have to have a starting point. I'm going to use my protractor as a straight edge. Yes, you have to have a straight line. Hold it down. Draw your 0. When I lay down my protractor, keep watching, I'm going to line up my dot with right there smack dab in the center of my protractor. They give me a guide to use. This one gives me that perpendicular lines right there. My 0 line that I drew should be right underneath where it has 0 here. So if I want to make a 50-degree angle, I come up here and I find 50 degrees. So I'm going to take it to the outside of my protractor and I make a little mark. So you can see where 50 would be lined up. After I have that mark, I'm going to take my protractor and I'm going to move it and I'm going to use it as a straight edge. And I'm finding my point and where I made the mark, they have to be in line. Then I just connect my dots together and I got a little crooked there. Now, do not do this. I can already name some kids that are going to do this. Watch what I do. I'll even put do not do this. Watch. Do you see what I did? I did not make a straight line. I have to use my protractor to make a straight line. Watch what else I see kids do. Do you see what I did? Right here is my point. When I lay that protractor down to measure, I'm coming right here. You might have tried to draw an angle that measured something else, but this angle is not correct. If I want to make a 35-degree angle, I need to use this point right here, and I need to line it up. What did I say? 35. 35 is halfway between 30 and 40. I make my mark, and then I connect them together. So this is not right. This is not right. That line is all willy-nilly. No. Use your straight edge. When I call it a protractor, I call it a straight edge. You'll see some of them have a ruler at the bottom. Okay, so your next page that you are going to do, you are going to use a protractor and you're going to measure these angles. So to help yourself out, if you want to put a little point on the end, you're going to lay your protractor down. You're going to line up your point. This line is going to be right underneath that 0 line. I'm going to switch protractors so you can see it on a different one. So there's my point. There's my 0 line. See how it's not exactly lined up? It'll disappear. Ha-ha, there it is. And then I want as close as I can be. So that's going to be the front side of that. On the back side, you are making these degrees. Notice how it's on a circle. There's 365 degrees. Your biggest one is 145 degrees. I'm going to do this one with you. I'm going to make a point at the end of that. I'm going to lay my protractor down. I'm going to line up my 0, and it's 145 degrees. So whenever I come around, I jump to the outside 145. Right here's 140, right here's 150, so it's in between. So I'm going to make a little mark right there. It's right where the 3 is. And my line, it can go outside my circle. It's fine. I just need to make sure that this point and this point are there so I can make a straight line. Hold it down, don't let it wiggle. And there you go. All right, you know what you have to do.